everybody. Wait, just welcome everybody to another episode 6, and we are about to get dumb. And if you don't know what I mean, that stands for Deep Underground Military Bases, which are believed to be one in every state, or maybe the whole United States is a giant one, or who the hell knows? But we're going to get into what we've learned and researched for a little bit for you guys.
And again,
And
we are now exiting the Dojaverse and going straight to the underground.
The underground. Here we go.
That would be. Okay, so yeah, let's start off with
We're gonna start off in our backyards. I mean, they're kind of, I guess, well known. I mean, there's NORAD in Colorado, which is supposedly in the mountains that keeps track of everything. They even keep track of Santa Claus when he's delivering his presents through the winter and stuff too. So they keep track of a lot there. And out there in Denver, there's also DIA, which we don't know too much about NORAD. I don't really know like any crazy stuff. You don't. Really
I know it's out there in Colorado Springs. I'm trying to look it up right now, but I don't know. My internet's acting all weird for some reason.
But for those of you that don't know, NORAD is like supposedly like has, what is it, like 10 feet or 10 miles of concrete or something. It could take nuclear blasts.
What I do know about it is that it's, I believe, 40 miles in a mountain is how deep they say it is. It can, like Doge was saying, it can withstand a nuclear blast. And rumor has it that here at NORAD and DIA, which is here in Denver, is that the president and the queen, when she was alive, have property out here. So if some nuclear attack went down, a lot of world leaders would come here to DIA or NORAD for protection in the inevitable nuclear attacks. I don't know why it's not bringing it up. So anyway, it's back to DIA though. Before it began construction in September 1989, there were a number of conspiracy theories. One of the tamest ones is that it was a disguise. They disguised the construction of a more nefarious structure. At first, we had Stapleton International Airport here. And for us to build Denver International Airport didn't make sense to a lot of people because it was a fully serviceable concourse airport. And it had national and even international flights coming in and out. So when they built DIA, people were wondering why were they? And not only that, it went like 2 point something, was it million or billion over budget? And from satellite views, there was a dirt pile that kept growing outside of DIA. There's talk about the fences being designed to keep things in. You know, there was the whole the New World Order. What was it called? The New World Order.
They had like an honorary plaque. Wasn't it a Freemason plaque? Or no, it was the New World Order too, wasn't it?
It was the New World Airport Association, which everyone's like, there's no such thing, and why would they do that on there? And it was a Freemason plaque, just like the Guidestones was a Rosicrucian one. But at the same time, I feel like a lot of those were setups to make people think things, because I do believe that a lot of Masonic knowledge was set up to be the fall guys for other nefarious organizations or occultists that are doing dark things behind the door. So, and actually, since we're on the subject, I just left some comments on their episode clip for episode 105 for the Sunday Cool. I kind of was going to say maybe some things on here that might have, I don't know. I don't want to cross the line. I don't want to be negative. But as far as what they're discussing, they are opinions without research to back them. And to say that the Rosicrucians are an evil organization is to say that you don't understand what they are, because you believe you're afraid of something you don't understand, and that is the typical mindset of the traditional world. Now, in the comment, I said that there was an amount of knowledge that is required to understand or begin to even understand, and that is because in spirituality, you want to take the Western route, that's fine. You want to take the Eastern route, that's fine. They'll get you there too, but it just takes longer. The thing is that those are like your geometry and algebras and your algebra 2s. When you get to the AP courses, that's what Masonic knowledge is about. And that's why you have to do a certain amount of work before even getting to that point. I mean, there was a girl at work, I introduced her to Agrippa's Diary, the channel, and it talks about a lot of occult documents, and he breaks down a lot of stories from occultism in an occult way. Cornelius Agrippa was also an occultist, one of which who was burned at the stake by the Vatican. When I asked her what she thought about the Rosicrucian thing, she told me that she needs to get back to me on it because she didn't realize how much you have to know to understand it. I told her that's what I've been saying. There's a certain amount of knowledge you have to reach before you can begin on this path. And it's not to say that you can't do it. It's just you have to do a lot of research and understanding in a lot of things. So I don't know if you have anything on them.
Oh, me? No, I've watched a couple of their videos, and like I don't know, I just called like bullshit on a few of them because I've done that. To me, it's like clickbait. So like these fool, like, you know, they like to say catchy shit to get clicks and stuff. Because that's what got me, was like, oh, new secret society never discovered. And like, bro, I knew about that stuff like back in the 90s or early 2000s. You know, like and like you said, it goes way back, you know, like, so it's like, and like I'm like, it's not something new, you know, there is a lot of history to it. And like I said, I didn't really, I was just kind of like, they sounded dumb to me, you know, and I'm just like, whatever, you know, and it's just like twice they got me.
Josh Hooper and Andy Danoon from Sunday Cool, for those that are wondering, and not trying to bash these guys. I just want to say I watched a few episodes of theirs too. Doge was the one who introduced me to them through a clip while we were doing Dro Bros. I've seen their Dogman one and a couple others, but to me, it appears they a church-based podcast that are more of the Western faith, who are trying to talk about things that they probably hear from their church groups or people that they hang out with, and things that they think are controversial or topics, and that they talk about those things without any understanding of the subject. And that's just my observational perspective.
Right. But
back to the real show.
Let's get back to the important stuff. No. So, oh yeah. So DIA, I've always loved
the Yahtzee run right. The Yahtzee runways. I have to say that because it was in the shape of a swastika.
So supposedly, the rumors go on and on and on. They were featured in the newspaper and everything. Like, they go on, but DIA has always been one of those interesting things to me that I've always just like was intrigued about. And when I read, and when I go there too, I mean, they have like different not hieroglyphics, but like letterings on the floor. They have giant like everything is built like with symbolism, like
it was gold and silver. The AU and the AG, that's gold and silver, and it's secretly there's claims relating to this inscription, and that it secretly reveals the means by which the Illuminati, the reptilians, or the New World Order will wipe out the bulk of humanity. they're saying that the AUAG represents a virulent pathogen known as the Australian antigen. Of course, an antigen. And it's something that triggers an immune response, not a pathogen itself. So they're saying it's named the Australian antigen because it is first found in an Aboriginal patient, and it is used to diagnose and treat hepatitis B. Hardly something designed to wipe out all humanity. There's also the paintings, that is.
Well, and just to touch real quick, I mean, we touched on it last week, 1 week or last episode, let's just say that. But and then I was listening to a new one, but they do these biochemical weapon warfare and stuff. You know what I mean? So it's kind of wild, like like stuff they could do like through gases and like and like you said right there, it says some kind of bioweapon. There was the thing that we all just went through with COVID, and they said that was leaked out of lab, and it just gets wild. Yeah, so the paintings are wild. So like I always like to me that one's like the rule under the Yahtzees right there, because they have like a sword about
this
to cut
one was
that family.
Yeah, it's like a Holocaust. Look, and the weeping woman with the dead child, and there's death, destruction, and war with the dove with peace. I mean,
yeah, it's like stabbing the
right here. There's kids crying, and there's war.
And
that
then you notice
on fire,
like
if you can see it.
That soldier, he had a mask on too. You know what I mean? So it's like an airborne
right there
type of pathogen, or virus.
Same one as that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so,
then right there,
what they were replaced by were things like this, where it says "coming soon," a secret portal to the underworld, or B, streamlined security, or C, another misunderstood mural. So mixing truth with lies so that you associate the truth with lies. But here's Lucifer that you were going to talk about.
Oh, well, no, go back up real quick. We'll put the link in there for anybody to check all this out of this website. But that one painting where it shows them all together, that's like supposed to like resemble like the New World Order too, where all the nations come together and all that.
This one.
Yeah. Because there's gonna be some
for hope and optimism.
There's gotta be some kind of.
It shows all the world.
All the world.
Yeah, look, it has all the flags. Like there's Ireland, there's Islam, there's
see, they're all united.
The Dominican Republic, Britain,
under the
United
dome.
States, Israel. I mean, okay, so it's got the gargoyle.
Okay, yeah. So there's the gargoyles. Oh yeah, so now you have a.
Dude, I've never seen this.
Did you ever see that?
I've never seen that.
I don't know where that came from. But hey, let's get back up to the horse.
22. Yeah, Lucifer.
Oh yeah. So, do you want to tell them what happened to the artist?
So the day that this piece was finally erected, it fell and severed the artery of the artist, killing him. So a lot of people think that was a blood sacrifice statue, and people speculate that this statue is one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse around the globe, and supposedly Lucifer's supposed to be death, and so we're missing famine, war, and pestilence.
And isn't he like Horus's supposed to be Horus's battle horse or something? Isn't Horus the god of the underground, right? Or no, Hades. He's supposed to be like Hades.
Hades is. Horus is the son of Ra, who essentially gave up one of his eyes for wisdom. And he's the bird-headed god, not to be confused with Thoth, the Atlantean, which is also part of Egyptian culture. So, okay, so moving forward from DIA, there's a lot of speculation there. I want to get into what Doge had suggested to me, because there's a lot to talk about here in his backyard.
Actually, too, I was thinking we might have to do like part 1 and 2 on this eventually, but we'll, each one of these places, just for everybody to know, will probably eventually be its own episode because there is a lot to talk about. But yes, that's why I wore this shirt today. Small town proud. Fuck around and find out. And I wore my New Mexico hat. So Dulce, New Mexico. All kinds of wild stuff. Man, I watched a couple of videos too that were just giving my chills down my spine. Like, oh, it's horror scary. Like, I just
Man, so shout out to the confessionals because you sent me that episode 141 about the Dumbs, and that one was really good with the special guest Carrie, who didn't give her last name. There's a lot going on in that story, though. She talked about werewolves. She talked about Sasquatch-like creatures, chimeras, mermaids. She talks about the Montauk Project, William Cooper, and Behold the Pale Horse. She talks about, I mean, all of these things associate Roswell, the Nephilim.
Carlsbad.
I mean, the list goes on and on.
She said like how she was explaining how the train systems, and she said she's seen a map, and I've seen a map. There's some kind of map that was floating around on the internet, and it was showing like the train systems of the underground, and she talked about that too. And I was telling my mom earlier, but she was like, "What the fuck, you damn crazy ass kid." But she said we were 28.
Well, she also talked about Dulce.
Yeah, she was saying there were 28 stories down, and it was barely like the first level of the rail system. You know, like I was like, can you picture that?
Some she was saying are 40 stories, and she also talked about the two angels that were under the freaking Euphrates River that this guy had seen that were chained up and said that they were 30 feet tall. These angels. But so going back to Dulce, said to be seven layers built underground. One of the layers is said to have been controlled by the Dracos, and the Dracos are what are said to be a reptilian species or alien. And so how this came about was who was it? Paul? Is it Paul Benowitz? What's his first name?
Who was digging? Because they hired him to.
The guy who tells the story, I think it was Paul Benowitz, right? Is his real name, his first name? But he says that they were digging. And remember, they encountered the alien base. This alien base is said to have been there around 400 or 500 years. And so we dug into their base, which then a shootout ensued. And this guy gets shot by what he said was a plasma after killing one of the aliens. And out of 66 men, I think he said he went down there with, he was the only one to survive because another man grabbed him and put him on the lift as he got out. But he lost 2 fingers due to the shot, he said, which was a plasma, and he said he got cancer from it. So
and didn't he die of a heart attack, allegedly?
That is what came out in the newspaper. Yes, allegedly, and the family weren't the ones who put it out, so that leads to more speculation, because if the guy was in fact lying and this was all in his head, and that his fingers being chopped off were from an accident that a friend who went to college with him said happened when he was younger, and all of these things that came out since. If this is all true, then why is he murdered with would he have a medical tube tied around his throat 3 times and knotted in the front, which is a difficult thing to do when you're missing fingers on your left hand? And why would he die mysteriously? He told his family, if I died, don't believe that it was a suicide. And then all of a sudden, a newspaper article pops up that he had a heart attack, and it wasn't the family who put out the obituary. So a lot of speculation there. But this is where the cattle mutilations begin. This is where I believe all of the stories about the cows being drained of their blood and stuff like that came from first, from Dulce base.
So speaking of that, the BEKs, new things I learned from that story. Black-eyed kids. That was some crazy, wild stuff. How she was breaking that down, and she was saying how they were doing the mutilations and all of that, And then she said that there was like a level or whatever that had it all in jars and
blood.
yeah.
Yep. You're still
Yeah.
there, Doge?
Yeah, but your screen's frozen.
Is it?
Yeah.
It doesn't look like
Oh
it
wait,
on my side.
what the heck? Am I frozen?
No. So,
Frozen too. You're just very
but
blurry.
she was still.
Yeah, it's like fixing itself.
Well, she said that the chimeras were the one reason why the animals had their drained blood, and she's saying how they came to her fence and stuff. At first, I trying to listen to this story, and she don't give names or anything. She calls her husband sweetheart, and she's
Sweet.
saying she's trying to protect people and their land because she needs their privacy. But at first, for the first freaking hour and a half, dude, and it wasn't until 2 hours in though of the podcast, out of the 2 hour and 18-minute story, that I'm like, well, this person isn't saying anything like, I know this sounds crazy, I know this is bizarre, or anything like that. So that was a trigger for me right away, because normally a person who talks about something that sounds like this, they automatically say that right away because they know how it sounds. She didn't say it until the 2 hour mark, which that definitely redeemed the story. But at first, I mean, it gets more and more intense as the story progresses, and she's telling more and more stuff, and you're like hanging on the edge of your seat waiting to hear all the stuff she's talking about, what's about to happen, what they've been experimenting on, what she knows. And when she finally says that, I know it sounds crazy, but you should check out William Cooper in his book, Behold the Pale Horse. And she says this confirms most of the things that she's saying if you think she's crazy. And so with that, that gives it more credibility when the person, they can identify with how this sounds to other people. Because if you don't identify with that and you speak with such absolutes, like what Terrence Howard was just told recently by Eric Weinstein on the Joe Rogan podcast, where if you're speaking in absolutes like that, that's where people have a hard time listening to you, because then you're speaking like with such certainty as if you know all of it, and you don't. And that's the thing. So when you can't even acknowledge that it sounds bizarre, this might sound crazy, but she did. Her story is definitely out there as far as the things that she's encountered or witnessed. But back to the black-eyed kids. I'll let Doge take that on.
So okay, so like, let's see. So there was another Dose incident where the cop kept patrolling, and he kept finding skinned animals, and it's all around this mesa, right? And then the lady was saying that the black eye, when you hear scratches and stuff, and like you like at your doors or like that it's usually the black eye kids, and they try to they try to sound like kids because we look at kids as innocent and and like a friendly thing. But I don't know, man. If I see that little creepy kid, I'd kick the shit out of him.
So she talks about two types. She talks about the ones that are like the Jason Bourne, that are taken at like the age of 6. And she talks about how they have electrodes put under their fingernails and their genitalia are sexually abused to the way that, in such a way of pain and abuse and suffering, that they say that the child has no choice but to create another persona that they go into to escape. And through all of this torture, eventually they become this other person and they forget who they were. And that's when you start to have your super soldier. The other type of child, though, she said, are children that they're putting demons in, and they have black eyes. And she said because they're demons, they're not like normal people, and they don't have the thought process of a normal human being. So rather than say, I'm hungry and will you feed me, she says they're more likely to say, is it food time? Like that's the type of rationale that these black-eyed kids have. And she talked about the scratching noises. She talked about the subways underneath causing the ringing in her husband's ear.
So before we keep, because there's a lot to talk with her story, but there's also that other story too about the husband Is it the same ones too, right? Where they saw the star land?
The
Did you watch?
Starland.
Yeah, they were watching like the stars, and then one
Oh yeah,
landed, and
it's her husband, and then that ship landed, and it started chasing them, and they got in the truck, and they're trying to drive away, and the things are reaching out towards them.
yeah. So this is
Yeah,
the same couple, right?
yeah,
Or no? Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, okay. That I was all right. I was confused. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if we stated that, but it all in the beginning, it all before it started happening too. They bought a property at the national
No, so what you're
forest.
talking about right there, that's with her second husband, because her first husband's the one who introduced her to the dumbs. Her first husband also had military clearance, and he took her down to the dumbs
Oh,
and things. The second husband that she refers to as sweetheart is the one that she bought the property with, because then she talks about how
oh.
the
See, I was
$100,000, remember? And then the guy said, I'll
yeah.
sell it to you for 80. And she's like, well, I have to wait till my court case settles because the government's not going to release my money. But when they do, I'll pay you the 100,000 in full. And the dude's like, no, 80,000. So yeah. So back to your story. Sorry.
So yeah, so like okay, so what I was saying is that beginning, um, or wait, yeah, it is. So they bought the property, but what I was talking about was the people when they were watching the shooting star, and then like a ship landed, and then those creatures came after them, and then they booked it out of there,
And I
and
think
then
that
like
happened with her first husband, that incident.
and then, and then late at night they came to see her and were tugging at her bed and like
And she
trying to
woke her
take her.
husband up.
Yeah. And then she said like she tried to scream and stuff and she couldn't. But like I don't know if you ever had have you ever had dreams like that?
Oh,
Like
you know what that is, though? That isn't it. That's off the Wi files.
oh see like I was yeah see because
So,
I was just writing tons of notes down.
no, I know, and there is a lot. So that came off the Y files, that story. But what she was doing with the property, she blessed it because she's a Jewish woman, and she said Yahweh's name.
Oh yeah,
And
dude, that was
with
a cool
that,
story.
she's saying that the children couldn't come to the property no more. The chimeras could only come up to the fence after that because before the military was harassing them with like bright lights and things like that. Her husband had to go out on the porch and shoot a 22 and holler obscenities for them to shut it off. But she was saying that the reason why they knew there was a dump nearby, and she knows where the entrance is, but she didn't want to say because it would give up their location. And
Hey,
she said she needs
and
her privacy.
what is the entrance? A portal.
Yeah. But she was saying that
Ah,
because the helicopters don't take off, you would hear the buildup of the propellers and the motor before it takes off, but you don't hear that. It's just at full throttle. Then it goes down. You don't hear it no more. And when it leaves, it's at full throttle. That tells her that there was an entrance they're going into and exiting for you not to hear the helicopter die down or start up. And so, anyways, yeah, she talks about there being multiples in states sometimes. I mean, look at this. Dulce is in New Mexico. Roswell is in New Mexico. And Los Alamos is in New Mexico. So right there, there's three. Okay. Los Alamos, for those that don't know, is where the nuclear bomb testing used to happen. So much, in fact, that they used to have parties outside in Utah or in Nevada. Remember where they could watch the nuclear bomb smoke things? And he talked about this on the Wi File. Shout out AJ and Hecklefish. But until through spy satellites, they believed that they were getting knowledge about our nuclear testing. So then they stopped doing the nuclear testing above ground and went underground. Los Alamos is also where Bob Lazar built his rocket car. The same man who worked at Area 51 and in Roswell, who talked about the scanners that scan through your skin and get your density of your bones and everything. And then it was found to have happened in element 115, which he talks about the unstable force that was created in a lab synthetically in 2014 by two German scientists. So a lot of things that Bob Lazar has said that came out to be real.
Hey, I'll have to note that too. We'll have to do a thing with him. Because he did the reverse engineering and stuff. Like that's like yeah, we'll definitely. But also, I wanted to mention there's a Carlsbad too in New Mexico, and then there's also White Sands Missile Range, which is a well-known massive military base. So like I believe that probably almost the whole state is probably one giant ass base. But
I think they're
I
all
am
over because I don't know if
I
you
am
heard the
crazy.
one where they were talking about how they put that glass on the walls. And oh man, that was on the History Channel. So this thing I was watching about deep underground military bases and different things. They were saying that there's this type of stuff that they put on there, and it takes out like, I don't remember if it was 30 meters or 30 yards at once. And they put this like glass like substance on there and heat it, and it just eats the rock. And all you have to do is go in and sweep it all out, basically. And so they said with that, you're able to create tunnels very rapidly, like literally overnight. And
Back
so to say
back
that
when
there's
I
bases everywhere is an understatement.
back when I was first like messing around and breeding like wild stuff, um the Ike was saying that they would use nuclear, and nuclear would melt through the Earth's core extremely fast too. And then that lady was saying, I think it was on the confessionals too, that they used something that would actually like evaporate it or something. Like I don't know. I'll have to go back and read.
She was
But I was
talking
like,
about the same thing basically that I was
yeah,
talking about, and a lot of the things that she referenced. And that's what was crazy is she talks about a lot of the things that we've already talked about on the show, but a lot of conspiracies that tie into the same thing. And it's funny how she acknowledged all of them and so little of time, but a lot of it she didn't know how to speak about. So like when she talks about the giants and the Nephilim that the military went in to get rid of in Afghanistan, she's talking about the Kandahar incident. And for those that don't know, there was an incident where special forces team went in the mountains. Rumor was told by Afghani soldiers and pedestrians that there were giants that lived up in the mountains and they would eat people, and they were red-haired giants. And so the military went up there and the special forces team disappeared. So they sent another team because obviously you're not going to let this team go up there and disappear without evidence of what happened to them. So another special forces team goes up there to investigate. And outside of a cave, they find some of the um, garb and stuff of the other soldiers that were missing, their backpacks and things of that nature. And so they go in to inspect this cave, and a giant comes out with a spear, hurtling a spear that kills one of the soldiers immediately. They're talking about how this spear is massive, and a giant man, almost 15 feet tall, comes out, 3 rows of teeth, 6 fingers, 6 toes, red hair, and he starts attacking them. And the soldiers, they eventually take him down. And when there's a story of the helicopter pilot who took him, and he said that when he took him to wherever he took him, that when they pulled this thing off of his helicopter, that laying in the fetal position on a pallet, it was almost 9 foot tall, like laying in the fetal position on a pallet. So just imagine that. He said it had 6 fingers, 6 toes, 3 rows of teeth, red hair, matching those same
dude,
red haired giants from the cave that we talked about in our Gilgamesh episode.
hey, and then she was saying those are like the super soldiers. Like, I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah.
dude,
Well,
Raj.
no, she was talking about how we took their DNA and mixed it with people that were people of that area. So they were to
Oh,
look like Middle Eastern men because that's how they would fit in. But these things weren't human. They look like humans, but they're not. And they're over 7 feet tall. She talked about watching all these videos where they murk other humans and eat their livers and things of that nature. But I
uh,
do want to mention the mermaids because she said that the government created mermaids, which I don't believe they created them. I think they might be using them, but she said they created them to access these underwater bases in the ocean. So,
what?
yeah, like I said, her story
Mm-mm.
gets really in depth with a lot of things. She talked about a lot of things. Her name was Carrie. I wish she would have said a little more because I honestly wanted to look up what happened to her after this story because her friend called her up, if you remember, and excuse me. She said that her friend called her up a week before she did this episode and said, "Hey, Carrie, look, have you done your interview yet?" And she's all, "No." Well, she's like, "Well, I wanted to tell you. Remember when we watched that video of the ISIS people and they put them Christian men with their hands behind their back and then beheaded them and stuff, and they had that giant that was with them that looked like the other men, but he was at least 7 or 8 feet tall." And she's like, yeah, I remember. She's like, you remember how those things work? She's like, I just seen two soldiers come into the grocery store and they were walking with one. And so
Oh
then
yeah,
Carrie
yeah,
goes
yeah,
on
yeah.
to talk about how these things, even though they look human, they can sense humans, they can smell you, and they can sense when you're observing them for too long. So this girl was looking at it too long, and it turned around real quick and came at her, and it's staring down on her. And she tells Carrie, Carrie asks, well, what did its face look like? She's like, that's the thing, Carrie. That's what was so scary about it, is that it looks human, but it didn't have no expression on its face. All I saw is it looking down on me with these deep, dark black eyes. And she's like, so I'm just calling you to warn you. I don't think it's a good idea that you tell your story.
Dude, that shit's fuck. That shit's great. That shit's crazy, dude. Like, oh hell no. Like, I think about that shit too. Like battling giants and stuff, man. Ew, fuck, this is
So
wild.
back to the Kandahar incident, the reason why it became a big deal is because then after that incident, soldiers were trained to aim for the heart, the head, and then aim above the head of a man. And soldiers would question it and like, why am I shooting above the head of a man? If I already shot him in the heart and the head, why am I shooting? And then after the story came out, then people started to realize, oh, they're training us how to kill giants.
Oh, that's wild.
So yeah, the Kandahar incident, for those out there that want to look it up, and again, like Doge said, if we remember, we'll attach this stuff to the comment section, just like I did with the Rudolf Steiner on our last video. For those that don't know, I'd like to get into what one was it? Oh yeah, we're still on the story, I guess. So her story, we forgot to tell the part about Sweetheart. When he went out into the woods and he was out in the winter because he stayed out in the camper or whatever,
Oh,
and he
with
got a
the
parasite.
parasite,
Yeah.
dude.
So
Hey, when I was listening to that shit, what tripped me out was we literally just talked about, and like we talked
Plum
about the
Island and
ticks.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like I was like, what the cause yeah, dude, that was a trip, man. But it's kind of funny, like when how things work like that, you know, like things kind of line up funny sometimes like that. Where I
Dude, it
was like,
reminds me of Dreamcatcher. Have you ever seen that movie? It's a Stephen King movie. It's got
I don't know, sounds familiar, but I
why can't I think of his name? But the guy who played Brody on Mallrats.
oh okay,
My Name is Earl.
oh oh I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he's on that. And it's four friends. They have an alien friend who comes in the body of a young kid who has cancer and he's autistic, and his name's Duddits. He was played by Donnie Wahlberg. Did a phenomenal job because I really thought this was an autistic cancer patient. That's how much weight he lost and how he acted. It's phenomenal. Didn't even look like Donnie Wahlberg. But when he comes as a child, he tells him that Mr. Gray is coming. But since he's messed up and stuff, he calls him Mr. Gay, and he tells them that he's coming and he's going to destroy the earth, and that these friends, he's going to give them something. They make a pact as children, remember? So when they do this pact, he gave each one an ability, and each of these abilities was going to help them when Mr. Gray came back.
Oh,
So the reason
I
why I bring
remember
it up,
this movie.
remember they
This
get the
was an
virus,
old movie, huh?
and then they crap themselves to death. And then when they went and looked in the toilet, there was that worm thing, and it attacked the one friend, remember? And that's how Mr. Gray came back, because he's eating the humans after he came out of the human that they found in the snow
Oh,
that had the diarrhea. They're like, oh, I don't want that person around me. I don't want to get what they had. And the person's in there just crapping themselves to death. But when they don't come out and they go check and it's all bloody in there and there's a black worm in the toilet, remember? And as it eats him and stuff, it's growing.
yeah,
So that's what Mr. Gray is.
I'm
But
kind of
anyways,
remembering more like, oh, this shit's
yeah, it's a messed
nasty.
up movie. But that's what that
But see, I
reminded
watched
me
it
of.
when I was like, when I didn't know. You know what I mean? Like it
Yeah.
was just kind of like a movie. But now I
I
know.
swear we
You know,
watched it when you were with Sarah and you used to
it
live by me
seems
and Brandon.
that's
I
all I was
swear
saying. It
you
was like a
watched it
long
with us.
time.
But
Yeah, but that was another lifetime ago.
that yeah, it was. This is over
Dude,
20 years ago.
that sounds so oh, that sounds so creepy, man. Like from what I know, you know, man, it's like
Well,
oh
because remember he went to the bathroom. And he, at this
Just
point,
like
when she took him to the hospital, he's barely whispering, and the nurses are irritated with her because she keeps answering for him. And then she's like, "It's a parasite. I know it is, because when he left to go walk the dog, they came into his camper because he never locked it, and they poisoned his food, and they
I
poisoned
never
him
knew
with
that.
something."
I didn't know that was Stephen King either. That's kind of wild.
Yeah, that's why it was a dope movie. So I only brought
Hey,
it up because,
but that reminds me of that other movie too. Remember, I want to say it's like Varsity or something. But remember, it was like it was like parasite aliens that took over at a high school, and it was like kind of It was
no,
like
that was
possessed.
that one with the salt that killed him. Remember, with Famke Jensen, and it had that one dude from Josh. What the hell is his name? I know what you're talking about, but remember you put the salt on them and the worms die. They were like a mimic one. They get inside of you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They get
Yeah,
inside your brain and control you.
it wasn't Varsity. I can't think of the name of the
But
movie right now.
but the point is like they really can do that shit. You know, like we're getting off subject a little, but that lady's husband, you know what I mean? He was, that shit was going on in real life to him. Like
And
holy
then
shit.
so he gets up and goes to the bathroom. She's angry because they are not checking his stool or anything like that. But then one of the nurses goes in the bathroom and she does grab what
Because
was in the toilet. And when she sees it, she's horrified and she goes to the other nurse to show her. And at this point, they realize that Carrie girl's looking at him. So they look back at her and she said she can tell by their faces that they now believe her. And she said from this moment forward, they start taking everything she's saying serious. But they never tell her what it
because
is. They never show it to her.
she
And
she made like kind of like a funny thing. She said, when you go into the hospital and you tell them that you're there because of parasites, they treat you like a crazy person. And
yeah,
I was like, I mean, like it does sound crazy, you know, like it's not something normal, you know, that you hear somebody like, hey, bro, I just fought off parasites.
I
You
know.
hear
And for
about
her to,
people. I said you hear about more people with fighting off cancer than parasites, you know.
but just the shit she was saying, like that she had the foresight to know that shit. But so they pulled the thing out, they're looking at it, and later on, after he gets better, but he's on this drug and he starts having hostile
Oh,
side
yeah,
effects and things
I
like that. So she calls her friend who tells her that it is true that that is the side effects of the drug. So he has to make a decision on whether or not to take these drugs. So they go to the VA and they want to know what type of parasite he has and where are the records. So then the doctor that brings it back says it's been scrubbed. And she said that was quoted from him. That's exactly what he said. And he said that the record, all it says is it said that he was, in fact, infected with the parasite. Now, when it says parasite, instead of saying unknown or undiscovered, it's blank. And the doctor was telling them it's the things that they don't say that are the scary thing. Like if it were something they said unknown or whatever, but this is saying they know what it is, but they're not going to
but the,
release it because it's that scary. They don't want people to
and then
know
he
about
was
it.
saying, but wasn't he saying that he knew like it was like kind of like like a bio weapon, like he knew it was like like
No,
man
she
made.
said it was bio terrorism because they infected him with the virus trying to kill him. And she talked about the guy that chops up the firewood, remember? And she said that he's lived in that area for many decades. And he hunts there, he fishes, he chops firewood for her. And many times he's been stopped by military that appear out of nowhere. They threaten to kill him. He begs for his life. And by the time he looks up to look at him after he's groveling, they're gone out of nowhere. And wasn't it her husband she talked about that saw this? No, it was their friend Eric. Remember, they had a friend named Eric that
Yeah,
would
yeah,
come out there. And one day he was the one who saw the chimera, the wolf man, remember? And he kept talking about the wolf and he was chain smoking cigarettes. So one other time he went out there, they were talking about he met the white Sasquatch. Remember that it looked like a white gorilla, but the hair was so close to the skin that it looked more man-like than an ape, but it was massive. And he said it surprised him so because it was right in front of him, and he looks up at it, and it's just so intimidating. But it caught him off guard to where when he saw the feet by his feet, and he goes to look up, he's like, "Can I help you?" But then he was terrified immediately after seeing what the thing was.
who wouldn't?
Yeah.
I mean,
A lot
For
to her
real.
story, though. She had a lot to say, and it reminded me a lot of the Bledsoes. So, funny thing is, she mentioned Los Alamos, she mentioned Roswell, all by where she lives. So she's given away certain things about her area, her general area. Now, she talked about Skinwalker Ranch in Utah, but she didn't know what it was called. She was talking about a base there that had all this UFO activity, and the guy was like, "Oh, Skinwalker Ranch," and she's like, "Oh, you know of the place?" Well, of course, most people do. If you know anything about anything, it's the freaking biggest UFO hotspot in the world, next to the Bledsoe's home. And in some of these videos, so the guy Benowitz that we were talking about earlier said that when we discovered that base, we had made a pact with the aliens. At this point, we made a pact with 7 good alien species, and there was 4 evil alien species on the planet, with another 9 species that use humans as a food source. Now, we made the pact that they could take humans and experiment on us and do things of that nature in exchange for technology. According to him, he was saying that the government is 1,200 years ahead of modern societies with their technology. When, see, here we are thinking, oh, they're 50 to 100 years ahead of us. This guy's saying they're 1,200 years.
That's a lot. I kind of believe that though. Hey, and like me, like I said too, I think there's all type. I think there's like probably futuristic cities within the earth, so far down and this and that. These probably all these things probably connect in this
But the
whole
Bledsoes,
crazy inner world. They're
I
not
think
my.
Doge could talk about them too. Did you ever listen to Chris Bledsoe's what do they call that when they hypnotize you and make you talk about the past life
Oh,
regression, or your past regressions? But this wasn't a past life. This was just his regression of the incident. Chris Bledsoe came in contact with an alien being that he said was Hathor, the divine feminine. They have Hathor, the Hathor temple in Egypt. Hathor was a female god in Egyptology. But he's saying that she came back to bring about peace. And Chris Bledsoe believes in God, and he believes this was a message from God, and these are angels from God. I bring this up because Benowitz said that 90% of these species are benevolent, and they don't think like us. So he's saying it's not that they're evil, it's not that they're aggressive, but their concept of right or wrong is a lot different than ours. So they're a lot more malicious than we are, and our understanding of it would be as something negative. But what Bledsoes are saying is that they're not all evil. And so there's always this war between what if these entities are here, are they good or are they evil? And I know you know about the Bledsoe family and the Bledsoe Said So podcast. So his son
yeah.
is the one who does the podcast. The daughters, Emily and Jeremy, are his other son, our guest on there. But Chris Jr. doesn't go on there because he was part of the incident and he was very terrified. It's Ryan who runs the show with his friend Nick and man, why can't I think of his name? Alex.
The back to like you're saying, like I first read about the alien, the reptiles, and all that with the in the David Icke books, and he was saying too, like, there's like just like with races of people or humans, like, there's always the bad bunch. And said like with the alien stuff too, like it's the same thing, and that they do believe that like they have like machines that could heal us, like, they're way in the future, like those people like live thousands of years, and and it's way beyond like what we can imagine, because like they constantly suppress truth and knowledge and everything, like just constantly. We're getting bombarded like bad right now. Almost every day I'm getting flagged 1 or 2 things, and they're just memes. Like it's to me it's just being comical. I'm not like, you could teach people try to give them all the truth they can, but it's up to them to believe it or not, or to find it in themselves to know, So why?
Well, that's how karma works. Is that it's your choice, and if you choose not to receive the knowledge that's being handed to you, then that's your karma when the things don't go according to plan. Because those that do tell you, we're absolved of our karma by trying to help you understand the world we live in, which is, what did they say? Truth is stranger than fiction.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the more we learn, the more, yeah, it's pretty interesting stuff. But yeah, these underground bases, I mean, all of them, like the experiments, the torturing of the humans, like I read that a few times about them making the pact, for technology and trading humans and stuff, and that shit's horrifying. Like, yeah, I mean, I like they said that there's a floor down there at DIA that's just like a breeding chamber where they just constantly just have women there and they just use them strictly for breeding for more different things. And
well, they talked about the cloning thing. So remember, they even talked about the photo that Benowitz had brought out, and it was of a cloning chamber, because if these aliens are feeding off of us, it would be easier for them to clone us and have a renewable source of food. But something we left out of Carrie's story that's very, very important, because we didn't even talk about this, dude, and we're getting pretty close to more than halfway through, but the FEMA camps and all of the things associated. So I want to bring this up before we get into that. But Carrie was talking about how these big 18-wheelers come out there and the roads are designed as one way in, one way out. This is very rural, and how these damage the road. And she talks about it a few times. But in this one instance, the reason why I'm bringing it up, because Sweetheart, he talked about coming back and how the whole valley smelled like death. And she was like, "Oh my God, they let the chimeras out to kill."
oh
So
yeah,
she's saying
that
they
was
killed all the deer and elk. And 3 years after the incident, it's rare to see them in the area. And she
like a
said,
herd of them, like yeah, they don't flock in herds no more.
yeah, she said that they killed them all, and they hid them down in the bases for food, because she believes they're going to release the chimeras on the land and let them run rampant. So she talked about them having
Well,
chips
not
in their
only,
brain that let them know when it's okay to leave the base and when it's time to come back, and that's why you only see them at night.
and she was saying that not only they're gonna release it out on the land, they're gonna release them out on us.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So, and that's why
Hey,
they're underground with all their food stocks, eating like kings. That's what she said.
yeah, yeah, because when shit hits the fan up here, they're gonna be down there. Cool.
Getting into the FEMA camps with all of that started right before COVID, and how funny people were talking about this, talking about Walmart's closing and closing down facilities, and how they were using these Walmarts as the entrances to these FEMA camps that were dumped, deep underground military bases. Now, people were seeing NATO vehicles being transported by train to different military locations, and they were seeing coffins, FEMA coffins, being transported to these locations. Now, however, I was delivering, and I was working for IKEA at the time, delivering freight and driving down to the Springs. And I happened to see some of those trains with those NATO vehicles going down to the military bases down there. I mean, you got Fort Carson out there. You got, there's 3 bases out there. I'm trying to think what they are, because we have Buckley Air Force Base here in Aurora. I don't know. I can't think of all of them. I've delivered to all of them.
We shouldn't name them all, anyways.
Yeah.
But
anyways,
never know.
I did see the things
watching.
headed out that direction, though. And it does make you think, like, is this what's happening? I mean, with Agenda, what was it, Agenda 2029? Isn't that what it's called? The World Health Organization thing that everyone's talking about?
2030, and then there's 2025, too.
Yeah, that there are over 180 countries have signed off on it.
And they brought that shit up in the debate, too.
Well, Benowitz, when he talked about the alien war and the aliens, that their goal is to exterminate 90% of the population. How funny that the Georgia Guidestones that we brought up in here, that was the first one to reduce the population down to 500,000, which is only 10% of the population existing. That was the first commandment on the Georgia Guidestones, created by R.C. Christian, putting blame on the Rosicrucians. Now, it has since been demolished, taken out overnight, and if it was said to have been arson, that's what they said it was, that somebody went out there and detonated something on it and blew it up. But if that were the case, they would have set up police lines, they would have done an investigation, and they would have found out what happened. Instead, it was cleaned up in a matter of hours, and no one spoke about it again.
Yeah, because that would have been an act of like terrorism or something for letting off bombs in the United States. You know, you and I can't just go blow shit up for the hell of it.
Well, and another thing, dude, the heads of Easter Island, somebody threw some chemical shit on there. Most of them are destroyed now. I don't know if you heard that or not, but yeah, look that up.
What?
The heads at Easter Island, the heads that stick out of the ground. Yeah, somebody threw some chemical ass shit on there that burned them all the way down. So now we can't even dig them up and research them anymore. Only like 100 of them exist because somebody destroyed them last year or the year before. I can't remember what it was, but I forgot we were going to talk about some modern stuff, and I wanted to look that up. Actually,
I was laughing.
The desert.
That's kind of creepy. I was just thinking that in my head because I said we didn't get into. We usually start off with something relevant, but we didn't.
Yeah.
We just got into it. We got deep into it. Yeah.
Deep in the underground.
Yeah.
The hell, my keyboard.
So, I hope everybody liked our pictures from our. You know, I left that photo shoot for everybody to check out from when we traveled around the world.
I love that. That was absolutely awesome. I think the editing's getting way better. Yeah, my keyboard just crapped out, so I'm not able to even use. Oh, there we go. Okay, so what I was going to look up is deserts with water now. So, there was this rumor that I was telling you about, those that I heard about from Brandon actually, and when they were talking about it, they were saying that like it was weird that everyone's saying, "Oh, global warming's happening, this and that," and what really is happening is he said something about the vapor went up into the Earth's upper atmosphere, and that vapor spread across the Earth, causing there to be more moisture than there was. So then people saw climates changing in areas of the world that they were like, "Oh fuck, global warming's happening." What really happened is this vapor rushed into the atmosphere, then rushed back down, causing these change of weather.
And then they're saying the deserts are filling up with the Sahara or whatever. They're getting water over there all of a sudden.
Yeah, they had rivers and a lake now, and they're saying now because of it that this may change the climate of the area, an area that hasn't had water in many decades, centuries. And now all of a sudden there's moisture in the area. They're saying there might be an oasis growing there. Who knows? At this point, we don't know because how can you know? It hasn't had water in centuries. So now all of a sudden it does. So now the ecosystem's about to change in the areas. Maybe it'll be like how the ancients saw it.
Interesting. But or are they doing it?
So, and I mean that's a possibility because that's the thing too about the weather control, and she talked about that too, harp, and how they harp like an angel's harp, but it's not a harp that an angel plays. It's a vibrational resonance that they send through the earth. That this resonance causes earthquakes at any size scale that they want. They can create hurricanes with it, and all of this stuff I've talked about before. But they have the technology to control the weather. Don't allow yourselves to be deceived. And we have chemtrails and everything. I mean, we just talked about Operation Sea Spray on the last episode. For those that don't know, check that out. That's one of the instances that the government's admitted to. So if they did spray, in fact, viruses on us at 43 locations just to see how the traveling and everything of the viruses and how it would be contained, don't kid yourself that they're not dumping shit on you every day.
Dude, right? Hey, I thought like I was like wondering how the other one got around so much on everybody and spread so fast because like at first it was like one person got it in California, 3 people over here, and then it was like, phew. And I was joking around, and I said that's because it's in the air we breathe, and like, and I
There's
was
a
like,
scary theory I heard recently about all of that we shall not talk about the name, like he who shall not be named, just like this virus. So, anyways,
yeah, yes,
this guy
yeah,
was saying that he was a doctor, and he said it took him many years to accumulate this evidence, but he's saying that other doctors were saying that they were told to put these deaths under this certain virus, and that way it would get the numbers there, and they would receive a certain amount of money for the hospitals if they said this. Even say like if you had diabetes, but you also had this virus and you died or you were euthanized, because
yeah,
then he talked about the euthanization too, that they don't talk about, how they're
yeah.
teaching us to euthanize ourselves, even in cases where if a child wants to be euthanized, they don't even have to ask the parents. And what they're doing is harvesting their organs for the rich.
Oh, oh shit. Yeah, that makes sense. Like, I mean, like a lot of sense actually. That's what I was scared, like, because like when they take your blood and stuff too, that's what they say. They look for genetic codes and everything within the people, and then hey, oh, there was a good show on Paramount about that stuff, about the organs and they taking the organs. But honestly, I watched like 30 minutes into it and it just creeped the fuck out of me because they do that down here in Juarez too, organ stealing with people all the time too, man.
Oh yeah, and I believe that.
Eh,
There's a market for that stuff, and it's very hard to come by. What we did forget about is Lear, and I can't remember his name. John Lear is one of them, the one who created the Lear jets. I can't remember the son's name, who had his own UFO experiences with aliens. And remember, he walked out of the UFO convention because people wouldn't get behind his story. What the hell was I going to say about him? There was something he did, and now I can't remember. He talked about it on the Y Files, actually. But yes, a brain fart.
no,
But
I was
oh,
trying to read some.
she was talking about the super soldiers. So on Carrie's story, remember how she said that they would have a gun that it just shoots a wave, and this wave would trigger you, and it would just change you into that other person. So these are the super soldiers we were talking about, the Bourne,
Yeah, because she
the
said like
Jason
with the
Bournes.
chips. See, that was another thing she was explaining, like with the microchips, is it's all ran by frequencies. So, like, I mean, well, I was gonna show you my phone, but obviously I'm using it. But that's a microchip right there. That who know, like we can't see Well, I don't like to say we can't see frequencies, but right at the moment, you know what I mean. Like, and I was showing like how the Apple iPod AirBuds. Oh, and I don't know if you know this in Colorado too. They just passed a law over there that they're not allowed to brain scan and read your thoughts and stuff for like marketing purposes. So things pop up more of what you want. And then back to the AirPods, they have a patent for that about they could put them in there and they could bring through frequencies. They can scan your brain, and then like I said, then you have the ads or whatever pop up on your on your uh on your phone or whatever.
So this is sacred geometry. This is the flower of life. This is what vibrations look like to us when we're able to perceive them. This is what I call the thought mind of the source that we exist in, because creator is the creation and the two cannot be separated. Oh, I don't want to go to Etsy. Jeez. Yeah, that is what I'm trying to look at. But see, look, here's the sacred geometry patterns right here. And what's important about them is
Yeah,
all science, math, and knowledge came from this. And this is vibrational resonance, frequency that creates. And that's why it was called the Genesis pattern and the flower of life. So in the Genesis pattern, see if I could find it.
oh, okay, hold
Oh,
on.
right here. Because this all goes into Metatron's cube, and it's important because Metatron's cube is what is it's what's known as what is it? Why don't you let me see that? Okay, well, Metatron's cube is what is known as the fourth dimension, or the tesseract. It is broken down by 16 parallel lines that form into the Merkaba. Okay, which is what Metatron's cube is. So, anyways, so the Genesis pattern right here is right here. If you look at it, it said that consciousness was created, okay? And consciousness can't move around in nothing. So consciousness had to create a bubble. And in that bubble, now consciousness has a way to move around in nothingness. But in order to map out what is a distance in nothingness, it had to duplicate itself. And in duplicating itself, now you have a reference to how far distance is. So then it duplicates itself again. And this pattern happened over a period of 6 days, and on the seventh day rest, which is why this is called the Genesis pattern right here. Now, all embryos, all plant life, everything form in the same spiral pattern. Everything develops the same way. This is called the seed of life. And all of this breaks down to bigger things, again, into the flower of life, which gave us everything, including the Merkaba, which I've talked about before. That was what is at the heart of the nuclear bomb. And when that happened, Thoth warned us that when humans could achieve that kind of power, we would achieve the power to destroy realities. It's important because I believe when we started messing with nuclear weaponry, we did achieve this power. And that's when the other dimensional beings that we call aliens started coming back into our lives.
Do you think it was that or the CERN? So like, what is CERN's not nuclear, it's like, how does that work? It's like particle
because
colliders?
CERN, and I want to do a whole episode on it in the Mandela effect, actually, but CERN is the Large
we gotta do
Hadron
one on
Collider.
CERN and then Mandela effect, but they'll go
well, because
hand in hand.
I believe CERN is the reason we have the Mandela effect, but CERN is the Large Hadron Collider, and the difference about it is what was it, 2008, I believe, when they first fired it off. And when they did, that's when the Mandela effect happened with Nelson Mandela, and you had millions of people around the world having two different memories of what happened to Nelson Mandela. So you had the people that believed that he died in prison in the 70s, okay? Then there's the other group of people who knew that he came out of prison, he fought for rights for people, and then became the president of Africa. Now, these are the two.
Dude, that's the story I remember.
Well, yeah, me too. And that is what happened in our timeline anyways. So anyways, because there were so many people. Are we in that
timeline still?
No, not anymore, no. But when that came about, it was such a phenomenon because so many people had two different perspectives that they called it the Mandela effect, because Nelson Mandela. But that happened in 2008 versus like what I'm saying with the nuclear weaponry. So, and if you notice, aliens or other dimensional beings have been more prevalent in our culture and society since the 50s when we first launched our nuclear weaponry.
Oh yeah, yeah, because it's also been documented and known that a lot of times they're around like nuclear power plants. They spot alien ships, or the testing sites when they blow up stuff. They're like, they spot them all the time around there.
The Battle of Los Angeles.
Dude, that is a crazy story right there.
Yeah, and
I don't know if they're ready for it.
Well, in the Battle of Los Angeles, so remember, this is a real battle because UFOs appeared above, what was it, a military facility, and they shut off nukes or something like that. So we saw it as an aggressive act, and we fired a lot of weaponry, heavy artillery into the air. And some of the artillery falling down killed some people, actually. Trying to see how many people that actually happened. So it happened in 1942, February 24th. So freaking right around World War II era. And let's see. Do real. because it's bringing up all the crap for the movie, which I don't want to look at because it's a movie, obviously. So the movie that came out with Aaron Eckhart, based on this actual Battle of Los Angeles, which happened in February 24th, early February 25th, 1942, over Los Angeles, California. Incident occurred less than 3 months after the U.S. had entered the World War II in response to the Imperial Japanese Navy's surprise attack on Pearl Harbor. So what happened is that at 1 a.m. Okay, so the United States Coast Artillery Association identified a meteorological balloon sent aloft at 1 a.m. as having started all the shooting, and concluded that once the firing started, imagination created all kinds of targets in the sky and everyone joined in. That was what they're saying the story is. But what happened is there were many lights above an area, and the military fired on them. 5 civilians died. 3 died in a car accident. 2 died of a heart attack.
Wow, at least.
They were shooting with 50 caliber machine guns.
And they were like, pew, pew, like spitballs on there. They're like, bullets. Yep. We got lasers. Bullets. It always cracks me up about that, like when someone's trying to sell me on getting more guns and ammo, and I'm like, what for? Like, you know, like I mean, it's like good against humans and stuff like that, but these motherfuckers we ain't got no lasers.
She also mentioned the skinwalkers and things of that nature in her video, Carrie did, and the Navajo Nation, but she didn't go into too much detail on that.
I was gonna say earlier, it was funny how shout outs to the confessionals again, but he was listening to her say all this stuff, and he goes, she's like, do you have any questions? She asked like real nice. He's like, yes, you covered like everything that I talk about on here. He's like, all the good spots. Sasquatch, he's all naming all this stuff, and I started laughing. I was like, I know. I was like, that's so funny. I was like, rarely that. Most of the time, the podcasts are just like one thing, you know. And she was just like hitting everything. Like, oh, what?
It was crazy because he hardly spoke in the podcast. She mostly talked the whole thing and gave her story. And like I said, it was pretty intense at some parts. Very intriguing. That's the Confessionals, episode 144, for those who want to check it out. And those that wanted to know about the Y-Files that we watched, it was the Alien War and Horrors of the Dulce Underground Base. Obviously, this isn't all we did our research on. I did research on some other videos as far as the History Channel and talking about other underground bases. They were talking about the Yahtzees and things of that nature. So I want to touch on the Montauk Project. I told you I wanted to touch on this for this reason, is that it was also a deep underground military base, just like Plum Island. We briefly touched on it on that episode, but there was a rumor and a theory that not only did that have to do with, so she was saying that the Montauk Project has to do with the Bourne kids, basically the kids that are like the Bourne identity, that are taken and brainwashed and all of that.
Like Jason Bourne.
Yeah. There was one rumor that Monsters Inc., with the doors that open, and I've seen this whole thing about doors and portals and how they had created them in a lab. I swear it was tied to the Montauk Project, where they were sending monsters to kids' rooms to go and take kids from their bedrooms and take them to these labs and stuff. And that's why I told you I wanted to bring it up, because I swear it had to do with that.
Dude, it's kind of fun. I'm telling you, it's kind of funny. So I was talking to somebody, and she's like, I was like, what are you doing? She has some young kids, you know, and she was like, I'm watching Monsters, Inc. And I go, oh, that's one of the most scariest movies out there right now. And then, like, because I'll explain like why I said that, because I read a long time ago that that movie is so subliminal in so many things. There's like in that, but it's the kids' fright and fear that activates the adrenochrome, And that's what it all boils down to, that these whatever they feed off of and stuff, that it's like a drug, it's like a narcotic, that's what it's for. So when they even say it in a thing, like, with the fear we scare them, the screams we capture, the screams, we come out all these closet doors. So yeah, imagine like why not, like, and like she even said that in the thing, that back to that girl, the confessions, that they were very scared of the dark, that they didn't play around with that stuff, and that they would start saying prayers and stuff like that, because because they knew what happens in the dark. And I've always felt like that. I have stories of certain things that happen too, like that. But back to the Monsters Inc., like they come out of the closet or the door or whatever, like open up a portal, go in there, and like I said, they say they get the kids to scream, but in real life, it's way more graphic, and the stories are way more.
For those that know, look up
yeah,
the Black Eye Club and the Red Shoe Society. If we talk about it here, we're gonna get pulled. So I just recommend go out there, look up these two things.
I've actually said too much, but yeah, look up
Same
that
here.
stuff. I mean, we'll eventually get into all that stuff too when we get our own website running, where we don't get so much flagged and shadow banned as it is, because the truth is getting offensive, or I don't know what I mean.
Look at
censored,
the
I guess.
A lot's coming out, and what was hidden in darkness shall come to light. Okay.
Hey, did we talk about it on the last episode about like the hurricanes, why they wanted that land and all that, right?
No, we didn't actually. So this would be a good segue to get into that.
Oh, okay. So check this out. Okay.
No, you told me over the phone. We never talked about it on the episode, I don't believe.
Okay, so back to, I mean, nobody's really talking about it, but they sent like only like I think it was something like $17 million for the relief of these poor people that lost their homes and all that, which like was like $750 like a piece, which is like a real slap in the face, because like, I mean, what the hell is that going to get you when your whole home's destroyed and your whole life and everything? You got to start all over. And then they, at the same time, they gave another 200. Let's see, they did another contract where 217 million Tomahawk missiles contract for Navy, Marines, and Army, HARP, or Army, to send over there for overseas with the different conflicts going on over there. So like basically, like we're still sending tons of money to other people, and they're not, they're not care about that land. But then also, rumor has it, like they're also gonna condemn that land because it has one of the largest lithium deposits in the entire world, and that they're gonna that's what they really want that land for. So what they do is they wipe it out with the natural disaster. Hence, they did that with Hawaii with the fires. There was rumors that all the billionaires got mansions over there, and that Oprah was one of them. That name was thrown around. I think it's Bill Gates, or no, it's Zach Zuckerberg. One of them got the bunker out there too. But anyways, they used the natural disasters. Then they condemn the land, and then they could, then they go in and they do what they need to. But also there was a contract signed for mining 3 days prior to the hurricanes hitting for this miner company that got the rights to start mining minerals out of there.
But with Tesla becoming the vehicle of the U.S. government and NATO, it makes
you just stole the words from my mouth. I was gonna say, who needs lithium? What needs lithium? Electric cars.
So,
and if you look at the cars nowadays too, like everything, I mean, it looks cool. It's all futuristic, but not even the dashboards. Everything's digital. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't even have like the speed on. Like, that was the cool thing. Like, you ram on the gas, seeing them RPMs, now it's like, it's like all
That's why I
digital.
like driving a standard. But no, so Carrie brought that up too, and I mentioned it earlier that they control the weather through vibrations. This is why we got into the sacred geometry and all of the resonance, right? Because Greeks and Egyptians, they baptized people in two things first thing. And these are the two things that they believed were the most important things in this world: water and sound. Because water is what you're born in, it's what you're in the womb. And the first major organ that develops in the human body is the inner ear canal. Why is that? Because you're meant to hear the resonance, you're meant to feel the vibration, it affects you, it changes you. And water, with that water experiment, so the water experiment, I mentioned it on here before, but anyways, with that water experiment, it proved that even words affect the water, right? And with that,
I know what you're talking about. And it was
just think about that.
And they take different shapes and stuff.
Yeah. So
like with the frequencies.
Think about that though, is that you're over 70% water, and it's Masaru Emoto who did this experiment. And what happened is, let me bring up some of this.
And they're cranking up that 5G.
Yeah, so all of that affects you, all of that resonance and vibration. But see, here's some pictures, hopefully you can see that, of the crystallization that formed of the water.
See,
here's some more crystals. The reason why I want to show this is because, see, everything affected it. Water, speaking to it, saying things to it, ignoring it, all of that affected it, and it changed to these different things. So we know water can be affected. So you're mostly water. You're affected by these resonance. It's important because that's why they say don't think negatively, don't speak negatively. All of these things, you're generating that resonance in you, and you're creating that in you.
Like the word, like even like words, like the thoughts in your head.
So
Bruce Lee used to say that too.
She said they did it with the weather, but she said they did it with the super soldiers. That this ray gun that would just shoot you, and it would just be a vibration, and it hits you, and all of a sudden your brain just flips, and now all of a sudden you just do what you were programmed to do, and when you're done, you go back to who you were, and you don't remember it. She talked about one of the guys that was a failed super soldier, that they messed him up so bad they couldn't use him, and that now in his older age, in a movie, what was it called? The Air something that she was talking about that freaking triggered him to remember
I remember
things
what you're
that he was doing, and he was trying not to remember because once he started
was a sniper.
Yeah, and people come up to him and say, "We know who you are. You served in Vietnam," and he doesn't even remember any of it. And
dude, imagine how wild that would be. Like someone comes up to you, like. I remember when the first time someone came up to me and recognized me from my music and shit, I was like, the fuck? Like, that was like, because I try to stay underground.
No, but I know we talked a lot about that story, but she said a lot. There was a lot and a lot of tie-ins.
It was a really good story, like, you know what I mean? Like the way she got into it.
She brought up Denver and New Mexico, which is both our hometowns. She talked about other places like Utah.
And then she brought up Carlsbad. So, I don't know. I don't think. Have you ever been to Carlsbad Caverns? Have you heard of that?
I've heard of it, but I don't think I've been to them.
Oh,
but I went to the Cosmos Mystery Spot, so you know where that's at, right? I heard there was one in Santa Fe or something just like it. There's only 4 places like it in the world. And the magnetic energies are so off that the trees grow inwards and stuff. Like, you put a freaking pool ball in the center of the floor. These 2 brothers started building the house there. Then they realized something was weird with it. And, like, the whole area is fucking weird, dude. And so when we get there, my mom, she can't go up there. It fucking fucks with their equilibrium. And as soon as we got in the store, I was like, oh, fuck. Like, I was drunk. I started fucking stumbling. And Chad's like, dude, are you, my brother-in-law, he's like, dude, are you okay? He's like, fucking, are you going to be able to go in here? He says, your mom can't come up here. That's why she's down there with the kids. She couldn't even go up to the stairs inside the fucking gift shop. So we go in there, dude. I feel it. Fuck. You're just like, oh, what the fuck? But you go in there and there's this angle thing, and they pour the water on it, and it goes up. Put a pool ball in the middle of the floor, dude, and it rolls to any corner in the room. And then they had this thing, and I grabbed onto it, and you're almost at a 90-degree angle, like you're planking on it, like I'm doing a pull-up bar. But it's not me. It's the way that the magnetic energies are. And they said there's only 4 spots like it in the world, which is crazy. The 4 corners of the world, right?
Yeah.
But it just has this weird energy convergence, you know, like this. And the trees, they grow inwards like that. It's so fucking weird, dude, on the whole property.
That's crazy.
Dude, but when I was up there, it was weird. And you're standing leaning the whole time like this, and you're just like trying to freaking walk straight, but you can't because you're like getting pulled to the ground, and it's weird.
What the fuck? That's tight.
Dude, it's dope. But I hear there's one out there in Santa Fe.
Huh. I have to ask my cousin about it. He's born and raised in Santa Fe, so he would know. Cause he's pretty smart. Actually, I want to bring him on here eventually. He has some pretty interesting stories because all his friends are natives up there, and they all live on the res and stuff. So he has a lot of story. He has a lot of story because with them. Shout out to my cousin Gabe. But yeah, it'd be cool to get him on here. But yeah, anyways, that's kind of wild. But back to what I was saying about the Carlsbad Caverns, you know, and the underground stuff. Like they say that like you go far, you go like something like 5 miles down or something. Like it's pretty far up in there. But you only there's only like 10% that you get to see, like that's open to the public. And they say like that's only like 10% of a cave system. So like imagine like I imagine like I've talked to you about it before, but not on here. But like the cave systems like around the world. So like, you know, why wouldn't they have like stuff when you use the van? Like they used to have like in the ancient times, they say that they had like cities like that were in the land, like tons of cities, you know, like so
there's a bunch still. There's that one in somewhere in Iraq or something like that has that weird city that can hold over 10,000 people or something like that. I can't remember. It's all underground and vented. But then Graham Hancock talked about it on one of his documentaries because they used a LiDAR scanner over there in Peru, and they found cities that he's saying would take a better part of 200,000 years to excavate fully. Mayan cities that they found under the ground. And plus the cave systems in France where they built all the dead during the Black Plague and all of that stuff, you know, with that movie As Above, So Below's about, which is sick as hell, by the way. And that's also one of the Hermetic principles. And I loved how you did that with the intro when you do the, what's that called? And we're in our Matrix outfits. And I was like, yeah, that's As Above, So Below. That's exactly what that is.
Oh, you know what I wanted to talk about too? I mean, it's kind of a little off the subject, but the getting introduced. I mean, I heard their first song I used to play on the Crow, but 9 Inch Nails. Going down that rabbit hole was pretty. Yeah. It's been kind of fun right now. Like it's a new artist. Like, I mean, they're not new to me, but like I've heard songs here and there, and then it's kind of funny to hear. So I wanted to tell you, but I wanted to say it on here. But forever, I always thought that song "Hurt" was Johnny Cash's original song. So like when you were explaining it, I was kind of like confused and shit at first. I was like, wait a minute, Johnny Cash remixed that song from him, and I was like, and because like I was saying like Manson did it. You know, a lot of people have done that song, but I always thought it was Johnny Cash's remix. So when I heard the 9 Inch Nails one, I was like, oh fuck, this one's the best one. Like I was like,
and so remember I sent you the interview where he's talking about how he gave that song up and how he came back and how it was
I didn't get to watch that, but I'll watch it. Yeah, I'll check it out.
He's basically saying that it was a real surreal thing because at the time he gets a phone call from a friend that says like, look, I got a friend of a friend who wants to use one of your songs. Is it cool if we take one of them. He's like, at the time, everyone's using his songs. He don't know what song they're going to pull from. It could be any of them. And he didn't know they were going to pull such a personal song from him, and who it would be. But he said that he said a lot of people were doing pop things with his music and stuff. So he's like, yeah, go ahead. Because, AFI did one of his songs too. Anyways.
I didn't know.
Yeah. So, he gets the song back. He says he hears it, and he's just like, oh, what the fuck? They're using this song that's very personal to me. And he says, I'm not ready to deal with this right now. Okay. Like, I'll deal with it later. Then he says he finds out who it was who did the song. And he says, and this man has an aura and a legend behind him all on his own. And to have to come and did your song. And now your song is associated more with the guy who redid your song than it is from your personal place. And he said that it was just real weird and surreal. He didn't know how to feel about it, but at the same time, he said it goes to show you how much music can translate through many different stories and eras. And it's so sick how he said it. But I fucking love Trent Reznor, Nine Inch Nails.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to look more. I'll look definitely more into it, and but it was kind of funny because like I wanted to make a promo video for the last one, and then like I was like, those pictures were so ill. Oh, by the way, to the people out there, I was holding back and I wasn't going to, but your boy So Doja is linked up with AI, and me and AI have been making some real good creations of stuff, and me and Grim over here have been traveling around and doing different things, so you'll see a lot more of us. I'm gonna try to start putting them at the end of the podcast for like a comic relief. There'll be a little stories of stuff we do and stuff, and me and AI are gonna help create these little comic things at the end of these shows for something for the fans. I figure give it out some funny stuff, because we're not always serious and researching. We are kind of smart ass people, and we have fun too,
No, but
we
check
are
out
real people.
that Right Where It Belongs, dude. That song I sent you that I told you is my favorite, dude. That's my absolute favorite song ever. And that's the song I told you that freaking they used as the song on the Black Mirror episode with Miley Cyrus, where she's breaking the brainwashing.
That's the next thing I want to watch.
Dude, that made me love that episode even more, that they used my favorite song, and that was the song that's breaking her of her brainwashing, and it's so fucking sick how they do it. And because, like I said, it was already my favorite song, and then to have it in that show and be such a big part of the show and the story.
Yeah, that's tight. That's cool. Like Manson does that a lot for me. Like he had that song. I think it was on the Spawn soundtrack.
Yeah.
Drag You to Hell. Yeah, the video is a little
Long Hard Road Out of Hell or something like that is what it was called.
Yeah. But that song is so sick, and yeah, when it was in the movie, the movie is fucking badass too, man.
Did you see Trent Reznor wrote some of his songs, like Little Bighorn?
Well, I knew like those two were like kind of close, like we kind of touched on it before, but yeah, I kind of think like they're not the same style, but they kind of got like that, they use like, I don't know if it's like industrial sounds or something, but they use like different sounds.
Reznor's industrial. I wouldn't call Manson so much industrial, but Reznor did sign Manson.
Oh, okay.
But Reznor created industrial. Him and
they're
Tool.
They're probably about the same age too, so maybe you know what I mean. Like, because I thought they had like some similarities with the sound,
When I was telling you that Down In It came out on their first EP in 1988, dude, you got to keep in mind that fucking Sober by Tool came out in 88 or 89.
Dude, see, that was a badass era of music. Like, hey, we're talking about it, not on, we were talking it off on the phone. But like, like so my stepdad, my dad was a rock and roller, but he was like Pink Floyd, kind of like the mellower rock. But my stepdad was more into the upbeat, harder rock, you know. So like I always been into like rock, you know, and then like I got into metal down the road, hard rock, you know, all that shit. But that was a good era, like Tool, Nine Inch Nails, Marilyn Manson, System of a
Metallica,
Down, Metallica, you know, like
Korn,
all these fools were
Slipknot.
just yeah, oh yeah, I have to say Slipknot, dude. Shout out to my cousin Jonah. He's passed away, but he was a snot. He was a snot head. But he's the one that got me. I got into Slipknot when he died because I found out I was his favorite band, and I was like, dude, these guys are pretty badass too, man. Like, but that was a good time, you know.
Make, feed, kill,
Music was
repeat.
music was dope then.
Yep.
Now, well, I don't know. I don't. There's still some. Them still rock. Them guys are still going. Some of them people. I don't know about the new Linkin Park yet.
I actually listened to that yesterday for the first time. It's not bad. I don't know what I think about it yet either.
What
With their new
what they
singer.
release a single or what or an album?
No, it's just live. It's them singing all their
Oh
old songs. So she's singing Chester's
no,
parts, dude. And
I didn't like that.
I have
I
mixed feelings about it too, but I can't deny that she don't sound good and that she is a pretty good choice for it. But
hey,
even for
what if the Scientology people like used her blood and they like cloned him? They like cloned his blood singing talents into a woman's body, so then they could sell more records for Linkin Park.
I wouldn't doubt it, and you should watch that Altered Carbon, because dude, that's kind of what all that shit's about.
Oh shit!
With the sleeves, I was telling you that the bodies are the sleeves, and you just change from body to body, so you could be male or female. It doesn't matter. Like you're just changing your identity with the sleeve, their disc. As long as your stack remains intact, you can take that shit and put it in another sleeve, and you're good to go.
Okay. How long? I've read. Have you seen they clone Tyrone on
Gucci Mane?
Netflix? Or
No.
yeah, dude, that movie's tight. That explains all about that stuff. We should actually, we should watch that, and then we could do a. I don't really like to touch on that subject though, but man, we could do an episode on clones though. But it gets kind of scary because I get worried about them coming. Got check out my window over there. I don't want them to come clone me, or am I cloned already? Fuck.
Oh, the Dojaverse ain't working today.
Not for you. Dang.
There we
There
go.
it goes.
Dr.
You gotta do it the right way.
The
not the
Darth
wrong.
Vader hoodie.
But
But
did you read I found like about the dumps is like Colorado, New Mexico. I think it was like Utah, but
Diane,
you think they're like you think they're like on the East Coast too? Like, you know, I didn't hear too many things like over there.
oh yeah, dude. What do you think that Statue of Liberty is and stuff like that?
Oh, you think it's like an entrance to one of those places?
Yeah. And for those that know, if you've ever seen the creepypasta, I think is what they call it, about the different monuments being houses for monsters, that was pretty creepy. It's not real. It's all made up crap. But dude, like Alcatraz, all of it, how they're living monsters that are hidden within the statues, and how like when immigrants were, oh man, it's crazy, dude. It's a crazy freaking story. So they're like, and they have all this footage that's all old and stuff, so it makes it look all real, but it's just somebody telling a story, dude. But it's so fucking crazy.
What's that on?
They're saying like when I don't know, I have to try to find it and send it to you, but the fucking they're saying that the people would come, the immigrants, and the immigrants would say that they'd smell in the morning, it would smell of like death around the statue, and you would see people lined up, and they would go inside the side of the statue, but none of them would come out. Then it showed this map of how the statue was designed and where they did the slaughters and stuff and drained the blood and all this. And you're like, whoa, what?
What? That's
Dude,
crazy.
it's like it's a crazy story, but like I said, it's not real, but it's insane, and the whole idea of it makes you think, and you're just like, oh, what the hell? Like, who the hell thought of this shit? And the way they did it, it's crazy, and they're telling it like from different perspectives, like notes, like somebody reading out of their diary or something.
Yeah.
I'm gonna send it to you after we get off.
Sure, that's probably true, man.
I know.
That's crazy. Just like what yeah, what do they say? Like the truth in plain sight.
Yeah, they talk about the Lincoln Memorial and how people that they say that if you were an enemy to the president, your punishment was to sit behind the Lincoln statue. So you're just stuck there, and that's your job, to sit there in the statue for a set amount of years. And somebody comes when no one's around, when they're supposed to be cleaning it, and they feed you through a straw in the nose. You're like, what?
What? Oh,
Like, it's a
heck no.
crazy video, dude. They're talking about like the monster inside the Rushmore, and oh man, it's crazy stories. I'll send them to you.
I mean, this segment saying too that the Rushmore had all kinds of like ancient stuff in that mountain too, like, and there's a lot of UFO sightings right there in the South and North Dakota too. Hey, and those are kind of wild states too. Have you went through there? There's like nothing.
Mhm.
It's like this
Well, that's where
land.
the cosmos is that I told you. It's in South Dakota.
Oh,
Mystery
that's kind of
spot.
wild. That's
So,
creepy.
but yeah, I
But
think for those that are here, stay tuned for the next episode. We're gonna have something special planned for you.
yeah. Yeah. So we more than likely we'll get into shoot, man, we're gonna have to do one quick on maybe on the elections too. That's right around the corner. It's gonna get wild over here in the US.
Yep. And we may or may not have a special surprise next week.
Yeah, may or may not. But we'll see what happens. It's all a roll of the dice. But peep in for the next podcast.
Should we say what it was going to be about? We've hinted at it before a few times.
Yeah. There's a great movie about it called Mario Brothers.
And a movie that The Rock played in, and Will Ferrell.
What was that? Journey to the Center of the Earth?
Yep.
Oh, well, and then there's also what is
King
it?
Kong.
The Mystery Island?
King Kong.
King Kong. Well, anyways, what we're trying to get at is the center of the earth, the cities, the mysteries that live beneath our feet. Hey, speaking of that, now it's kind of weird. This memory just kind of clicked in my head too. I used to stay over there at the Papo's house, and off of it was like 97th and Huron. But when I was there, I used to stay over there, right? We used to always pass out in the basement. No, that was the next house. Was Cuevas, yeah. But there was a basement, right? But I would always feel like some kind of weird vibration underneath. And that was at the time I was like reading books and like kind of learning and kind of going off the rails. And I used to swear that there were like digging or something that was going on underneath, like they were making tunnels or something like that, because it would feel like huge like jackhammers or something is beating inside the earth. So I was like, like I said, right now I just thought about that. I was like, who knows? But what's underneath us, you know? That's the mystery we're going to talk about this next one. And guys, tune in to the Dojaverse. Peep out the end of this show, because there'll be a secret special. We're going to release some top secret footage from us time traveling. And on that note, we are traveling out of here.
Good mix.
Peace
Signing out.
So Doja, we out. What's that called? Man.
Just chilling in my automobile, never slipping, holding my steel. Sometimes life be way too real. I love it when it's time to chill. Round like a Ferris wheel. I'm trying to follow Jack to Jill. I'm tired of rolling down the hill. Come on, I know you know what I feel. So I just chilling in my Bonnie would kill. And I smoke until my grill is peeled. And forget about the shit I deal with day to day. Cause when I'm high I realize it don't mean shit anyway. So I just let it blow in the wind. I love that frame of mind I'm be in. The dro lets me out of my pen. Oh yes, the devil is back in his den. Sin.
Cause life is unpredictable like weather. So we could do this separate or together. Whatever. So I'm doing better. Cause you might not believe I set goals to achieve. It started to grow like a seed. To the water, to the soil, to the sunlight, to the dark night. We out here soaking it up, living life unpredictable.
I do it spiritual, rather not be caught up off a green. But to achieve, gotta be grimy, shiny. Stars they don't like, darkness is where I stay out of sight. Like the mind with all my might. I'm back to the subject, bullshit I try to stay above it. Knowledge in their brain I try to shove it. Conquering all my dreams, nightmares making the bitches scream. I've seen the end of my presence. Life I've had the three of best blessings. So many fucked up hard lessons, tensions. Get the beat tested, not to mention switching up dimensions, communicating with different beings. What I know you don't wanna be seen. Go ahead and stay in your matrix dreaming. Stay awake and make your life worth meaning. Achieving everything you desire to. The trick is to get higher food. Abuse those dudes who choose to misuse your kindness for your weakness. Get behind this neatness as I rhyme this, defeat this negative energy that comes my way.
Cause life is unpredictable like weather. So we can do this separate or together. Whatever. Now that I'm doing better. Cause you might not believe I set goals to achieve. It started to grow like a seed. To the water, to the soil, to the sunlight, till the dark night. We out here soaking it up, living life unpredictable. Waking up in the morning, I'm looking at my window when it's pouring. Caught up in the lion's den roaring. King of the jungle, swerving almost the drunk and stumble. Don't want the world to get in my hands, it will get crumbled. Back into the particles, this is the lost article. Rewritten, stop spitting, submitting the classified street documents. Real talking it, kick back, go on, talking it back. Your style so whack, but sorry the facts you gotta stick to them. My dogs out here ready to stick them, but I'll let you know when to get them. But to the haters, good riddance. We spitting so hard, we leaving them scarred, no holds barred. We dropping it so fat that I'm dripping a lot. I'm already tired about hearing about them cars, cause life's already unpredictable. To be caught up by that simple, that typical. We done lost the principles. Yeah, I'm getting money by the fistfuls, but it's so damn irresistible. Cause life is unpredictable like weather. so we can do this separate or together. Whatever. Now that I'm doing better, cause you might not believe I set goals to achieve. It started to grow like a seed, to the water, to the soil, to the sunlight, to the dark night. We out here soaking it up, living life unpredictable.
Curriculum tells us that the human psyche contains a segment of ourselves that even the collective unconscious denies. Good morning, folks. Nice to see you in class. Am I keeping you up? Alright, what do I mean by all this?